two, and one. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, primetime edition of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Chocolate Thunder Jody Williams, and my guest tonight needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. He is the most talked about arm wrestler out there, not named Levon. Hi, everybody. What's up, Ryan Bowen? Welcome to the show.
Jody, man, thanks for having us on. It's good to be here, man. Good to be here. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited now, and yes, it's a Friday night. It's 8:00 over here Pacific. I know you guys are probably eating lunch over there right now on a Saturday, so I'm glad we're able to kind of get our times together and stuff. But let's talk about you for a second, because I see momentum picking up, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but let's go back. Why do you think you get the moniker of delusional?
Man, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with it these days. Like it's been a journey, and it's something that you have to learn to roll with. There's been through seasons where I've done well and where I haven't done well. I think in its origins, like if you were someone who knew me right from 2013 when I began in the sport, like I've had it since then. Like it may not have been used in that exact term, but the sentiment of it, of people thinking that I'm overreaching or that I'm aiming for something that's just impossible, has been consistent. I don't know, and I think that ultimately it's a reflection of my personality, that I've always been comfortable speaking my genuine goal, and speaking my genuine goal brings a lot of criticism. So I think that's the ultimate root of it, is that I constantly project forward what I think I would like to chase. And for a lot of people, that just is an opportunity to have a laugh. So, but at the end of the day, like if I go back to my YouTube videos, video number 3, I think, on my out of the 2,000 videos I've made on YouTube or something, the third video kind of lists, it's where the delusional thing really started. I had local people calling me delusional then, because I said I wanted to be the national champ. I think I've ticked them all off. So it's just, that's where it comes from. But then I've learned into it as well, and learned to harness it to create opportunities, to create talking points, to create momentum in marketing, because I certainly realized that the sport is more than just being a great arm wrestler. It is an entertainment. There's an entertainment factor to it as well, that we have to, as athletes, be aware of and take responsibility for our own destiny in that regard. So I kind of harness everything, the delusional side, the athlete side, and yeah, it's been a good journey so far. I've loved every bit of it.
And you know what? I'm going to ask a question. This will segue into how we start this show, because even I had a question myself, and maybe you can answer this more than anybody else. When you've had the opportunities you had that all of us would love to have, like you spent time with Todd Hutchins, John Brezink, Devin Larratt,
Travis
Bajan, the list goes on and on. I think why some of that comes out, maybe some of the hate or whatnot, is because of the fact that maybe when was time for you to compete on a bigger stage, because you had some, moments with those guys, and you had some data to come back and bring and work out, that maybe we expect more out of you. And when you didn't deliver, that's when all the hate and everybody was throwing darts at you and stuff. I always thought maybe that was it. Maybe it was like, okay, well, there should be no reason Ryan loses this if he's hanging out with this person, that person, taking this and taking that. Do you think that might have something to do with that?
No, look at in my. I think there's a lot of factors to it. I think that the biggest factor is that I win, lose or draw, I always put myself out there to be either praised or criticized, depending on the result. Obviously, I try my best to win every match that I'm in, but sometimes you get your ass kicked. Sometimes you don't perform. Sometimes you just miss the mark, and so naturally, the result when that happens is everyone who was in the camp of saying, yeah, there's no chance, they have a great time and go nuts. But I mean, at the end of the day, we want an even balance. If everyone just supported any one athlete, it wouldn't be as interesting. So there needs to be people out there that don't want me to win. And I think that there's been times where I've had maybe like 80% of people wanting me not to win. Also, it's been pretty high, but the pendulum swings back and forth in that regard. And it's like I said, it's a lot of fun, man. It's really cool to be able do it, and it pays the bills for me, man. So it's an honor. I honestly, genuinely think it. Like, still pinch yourself stuff that it happens, but it's a lot of fun. And I learned this from Devon right from before I pulled in the WAL. When I went to my first ever my only, because WAL packed up a bit after that. But when I pulled Alan Guerra in the WAL, Devon was on the card, right? And I remember thinking to myself, I had a goal in that event, of winning not only the match, but my goal. And I only said this to very close people to me. I said, I'm going to win match of the night. I'm going to beat Devon in match of the night. He was pulling Dave Chafee. I said, my goal, my biggest goal for the night is to win the match of the night over Devon and Dave, because I knew Devon would put on a show.
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah. And I won match of the night. And I was like, so that for me was huge. And the people say, okay, well, what does that mean? What did you do to win match of the night? That's where, and like I said, I learned this from Devon. I've learned from Devon that you have to put on a show, whether it's your mannerisms, whether it's where you're looking, the fact that you're looking and staring at your opponent, waiting for him to get eye contact with you. You have to. There's just so much more to it than just plain old who's the better arm wrestler. Who's the better arm wrestler is pretty boring. You need to bring storyline, you need to bring drama and tension into it. So I always studied Devon Larratt and the way he behaved right from the moment his matches were announced. Because I thought, well, Devon's the best at it. Look at how much attention Devon has in the arm wrestling space. He's the only athlete that really commands that degree of fan base, be it haters or supporters. And so I studied him early on and just thought, yeah, that's what I'm doing right from the beginning. I'm always going to bring story into every match that I'm in.
And, this is one of the things of many things why I respect you, because Dave, a lot of people have thrown a lot of shade at you, and I've gone on record. I'm not going to deny. I've said some stuff like, Ryan, what the hell are you fucking doing? But I'll tell you right now, I was one of the very few that says, no, I don't want to see a Bowen versus Khaled rematch. I really don't. But a tough skin, because a lot of other questions people ask: how good are the Australians? How good are they? Because when it's time for step up in the international play on these big tournaments, they always come up short. So there's always that dark cloud, right? So, and we'll just start from the last East versus West, right? I love the build up with you and Coach Ray. I adored it. I was like, yes, I thought Coach Ray was going to win, but he did, which is fine. So what do? You go back to the lab, you get your mind right. Next thing you know, off to Armworth, you take care of Stoica. Cool. Then what happened? King of the table, you beat Khaled, and now all of a sudden, now the motivation is doing this now. And next thing you know, I'm thinking I'm on the show with Ryan Espy, and next thing you know, we go, hey, did you hear Bowen's going to take on Zurab? I'm like, when? Oh, yeah, next month at East First West. I'm like, really? Wow. And then I actually saw your video after that. So tell us how that all came about.
Yeah, man. Well, it is funny. Like it kind of blew the haters' minds a little. They're like, hang on, you lose to Coach Ray, then your next match is on the same event. But obviously, if we look at the details of it, there is a significant weight difference between it. Getting down to 90 kilos for Ray proved to be too costly for me. Ray was better at that weight by a considerable margin, and it was something I won't do again. I won't force myself that low in body weight. I went to bed at 105 kilos last night, so you can see the difference between that. And I weighed in at 88.7, extremely dehydrated for Ray. So I won't do that again. But so the Zurab match came about because I had been booked to be the commentator for East vs West. And originally I wasn't booked for a match or anything like that. But I'd let Engen know that if there was a possibility, seeing that I'm all the way over there, I'd love a match as well. Like, had he not given me a match, I probably would have privately gone and done a collaboration with someone and found myself a match just to do on my own YouTube channel. But I said to him, look, I'd love to pull. If I'm coming all this way, it's 20 odd hours in the air. I'd love to pull. And originally he said to me, look, I've been limited by how many matches I can put on. So unfortunately I can't. So that was cool. We let it go. And then I beat Khaled at King of the Table, and I had in the arm wars, and I just had some momentum back on the table. And I messaged Engen and said, hey, Engen, you got that match for me yet or what? So I was pushing Engen for it. And he just said, yeah, right, we can do it. And he gave me 3 names. And of those 3 names, I, without hesitation, said, I want Zurab. And he's like, oh, you want Zurab? And I'm like, I want Zurab.
There you go.
He said to me, he said, I'll float it to Zurab and see what he thinks. And in the meantime, I wrote an article about it straight away. I didn't name who my opponent was, but I described all the characteristics of Zurab and said that wait till you see who my opponent's going to be. And I released this, and Engen said to me, "What if Zurab says no?" And I said, "Well, just give me his number, and I'll I'll convince him." But he didn't. He said yes without hesitation. So I think when someone pulls me, they get an opportunity. Like for Zurab, it's an interesting match for him. I have to say that for him, like there's no denying he has more real world arm wrestling credibility than I have. He's been a WAF world champion at 80 kilos. He's now 100, 102 kilos. I'm not sure what he's going to turn up at. Right. But he's thereabouts at that 100 to 105 range. And he's a killer. He's established it with his reputation. So there's no doubt he's got more of that than me. But for him, a match with me is a match to have a sort of a hyper focus in a marketing sense. I've got a lot of momentum in that respect. So anyone that pulls me, will get a decent amount of focus. So I spoke to Zurab and thanked him for the match, and I said, look, take the opportunity, man. Really run, like strike whilst the iron's hot, and make everything, get everything. Like it's setting up arm wrestling as a genuine career is tricky. And for people like Zurab who have all the arm wrestling ability in the world, but not yet the runs on the board in a social media sense or anything like that, I hope that they take these opportunities and run with it. But I think it'll be an outstanding match. The pressure's all on Zurab. Everyone in Eastern Europe's telling him that he's going to crush me, not only beat me, but crush me.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, because I'm telling you right now, and then we also have somebody who wants to put something out there. It says, I still want to see Bowen versus Bama Bull. Hey, you know what? I mean, might as well. Why not? Because I think we all know the RBJ or Bowen match is off the table. It's been off the table for months now. We don't have to discuss that anymore. But yeah, interesting, person to put out there, because Justin Bishop will be at East versus West on the same card as you.
And he's taking on Mindaugas Tarasitis, and I am Mindaugas Tarasitis' cornerman. So we're gonna. Wow. So Mindaugas is my cornerman because after the Arm Wars experience, he was so immensely valuable to me in my little adjustments in my setups. Mindaugas was I couldn't have asked for a better cornerman at Arm Wars. So I asked for him again at East vs West, and he said, "Yeah, absolutely, more than happy to." And then he said, "Would you be up for being my cornerman against Justin?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll do it." And so I'm laughing, thinking, "Oh no, Justin's gonna think I hate him," but go helping his opponent. But I get nothing but love and respect for Justin. I really like the guy, and I do really respect him as an arm wrestler, and I would love to face him again. Obviously, that is a story in itself. I'm not sure. Like, there's a big weight difference between Justin and I at the moment, I think. So that I know Justin's never afraid of pulling up in weight, but I would happily pull with Justin. I think that's cool. I think it'll get a lot of eyes on. Justin would be. I'm not coming under 100 kilos ever again.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. That what you did against Coach Ray, and I hate to say this, and don't you cannot talk to me anymore after this, but that was probably the dumbest thing you ever did, to cut that much weight in a short amount of time. Like,
yeah, I didn't manage it well.
What are you doing?
I didn't manage it well, and look, I accepted that. It's funny because prior to that East vs West, I had already said to myself, I'm never cutting weight again. So my normal walk around weight when I accepted that match was like 97 kilos at the time.
Gotcha.
And so I spent 6 weeks dieting, eating no more than 1,000 calories a day to get down. I got on the plane to go to East vs West at 92 kilos. When I arrived in East vs West, I was 93, some water retention from the flight or something. So I then had a 4.5, 5 kilo cut that I did in the sauna on top of all that. So yeah, I accepted that and did that because it was an opportunity to pull on such a great card. East vs West, it was an opportunity to be paid as an athlete to be there. And I just couldn't say no. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. Yeah, I won't do it again. I won't go there again.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, that's a little bit too like, dude, like, come on, this is you want to be at your strongest, and I don't think by you cutting down that way was at your strongest. I know you're trying to meet him at a certain weight, a catch weight, or whatever the case may be, and I understand that, but it's like, don't ever do that again. That because I see you and Coach Ray as the most genuine pullers. What I mean by that is that I think you and Coach Ray are the only two people to appear on all three of the major events: Arm Wars, King of the Table, and East First West. I think you're the only two.
Yeah, I think so. I got him on the WAL front though.
Yeah, see, I mean, and there you go. There's that too. So I mean, it's like it's the Grand Slam effect where you've been on everywhere and you've made it count. And now that you got the momentum back in your corner again, start rolling and stuff. When else can we see you back at Arm Wars? When can we see you? And like I said, is this really true about you and Khaled, this rematch stuff?
Oh, yeah, man. The rematch is on. You're not a fan of it, but the rematch is definitely on. The Fresh rematch is on. And I personally do find it interesting. Now, having felt his shape, I'll be curious to see what you think is going to happen in the match or why you don't want to see it. But look, Khaled, what he did to Schoolboy was very impressive. As a physical specimen, he's obviously got a great set of tools. I personally think that Schoolboy made major tactical errors in that match by not backing his top roll at all and just trying to purely supinate and hook. I think it was a big mistake. The way I pulled him, where I utilized my top roll, but at the same sense, I didn't try to take his wrist. I top rolled inside his hand and just made it about side pressure and containment. I think if Schoolboy had done something like that, he would have had a much better result. So for me, against the fresh Khaled, I expect him to be stronger, more energetic. However, I think that I know exactly the lanes to beat him in now. I've felt it. I know where he's vulnerable. His side pressure conditioning is it's very easy to manage that. He's a wrist flexion and back pressure guy. So that's his weapon. So if he can negate those weapons and then make it about side pressure, you're good. The problem will be, can I finish him? Because he does have that open arms position. But if I can either just get through him with side pressure quickly, or I can expose his wrist through lack of awareness and technique, I think it'll look similar when it is fresh. But it's a point that I'd like to prove. And it's a point that he thinks that he can prove too. So yeah, I'm keen.
Well, the reason why I didn't like it at first, and I probably still don't, because it could have went a different way. Like once Khaled said, I'm going to beat, Schoolboy, I'm going to beat you too, Ryan. You could have took a step back and go, you know what? I tell you what, you beat Schoolboy, then we'll see if we can talk turkey. So then he beat Schoolboy, which no one saw that. And then now it's you and Khaled, and there's the buildup, right? There's the buildup right there, and then that could have, we could have talked about that for the next X amount of months going on, That's the only reason why,
So fair enough. But for me, like I got to take opportunities when they're in front of me. And like the truth of the matter was that I got the call. I had no idea that about this at all. And I was in Turkey when Core Sports called me and said, we got a random one for you. Khaled wants to pull 2 people and he's demanding the second one is you. Are you up for that? I'm like, okay, all right. We drip fed marketing out there that's made it look a little more organic, like I'd been baiting him. But the truth of it is, out of nowhere, total blindside, I get a call saying, would you like to book Khaled? You'll have to do it after he's pulled Schoolboy. And I'm like, okay. I said, I'll kick his ass if that's the case. Like, I said, he does not know how hard it is to pull 2 supers in back to back. Clearly, I'll happily give him the lesson. Like I said, I was paid to give him that lesson, and it's given me the foot in the door. So I gotta take opportunities when they're in front of me, and that was, albeit a bit of a circus match. It still was a hell of a lot of fun for me. And
you know how popular you have to be when you're in Turkey competing at East First West, and you get a call from Core Sports? Like, seriously, I mean, everybody in the chat, think about that. Adam, Justin Green, Preacher Arm Wrestling, Phil Woody. Do you understand how popular or good you have to be? I'm in Turkey at Engin Turkey's event, right? Focused on my match, and I get a call from Core Sports about King of the Table. That right there just speaks volumes. But speaking about volumes and Australian arm wrestling, I have a comment here I want you to read, and you tell me what you think.
Adam asks, can you push Lachlan into a good match? He's been fed to the wolves with Irakli, Zilla, and Sanders. Look, yeah, Lachlan definitely needs a more balanced match. I think that he will do particularly well against the hook puller. If the highest caliber, so like for me and subsequently for Lachlan too, we work pretty closely together in this. When you are looking to grow as an arm wrestler in the arm wrestling overall value, like business as well, I'm talking. Yeah. You need to pull someone that is. You need three factors. You need a great match with someone who has a great reputation that has good marketing reach. So all the people that he's pulled were a lot of those things, but they were just too good in the arm wrestling column. In the particularly, I mean, he's pulled three savages in a row. If you look at it with Todd Hutchins and Sanders and Irakli, they're savages. I think the highest guy right now that would be great for Lachlan, for me personally, if I could pick it, would be Krasimir Kostadinov. I would love to see Krasi on his downward trend of results. And you know they're going into a hook, which is what we want to see. We want to see that. I think that Lachlan in a hook with Krasi would be fantastic. If I could push him,
everybody be foaming at the mouth about that match. We just got to make it happen. Right now, Krasi's in Turkey as we speak at WAF Worlds, doing damage, and he's also in the same. He's in the same class as Unger Bayev, by the way, in case you guys didn't know, at the 100-kilo class. So I'm sure they're going to meet up at some point tomorrow, right-handed. So
yeah, unreal. But yeah, look, Lachlan's a phenomenally strong human. He's a very diligent trainer. He and I have combined with Sebastian Oreb. So Lachlan is gonna transform. Has Lachlan announced anything yet about who his coach is? Does anyone in the comments know who Lachlan's coach is? I don't want to say it publicly if Lachlan hasn't said it yet. But for the meantime,
I don't know. I really don't know. Justin Green thinks that there's no way Krasi would ruin him. Like, there's no way Lachlan has a chance, if I'm reading that correct.
Load of rubbish. Krasi would be great for Lachlan. Look, you could just go back and have a look at Lachlan hanging with Todd Hutchins in the hook. Like he was able to be there in the hook, and Todd's someone who would pull through Krasi in a hook. We've seen it quite a few times. I think that's the right level for a great match for Lachlan in the hook. What Lachlan's vulnerabilities are, Lachlan's weakness is not being strong in his lane. Lachlan's weakness is he is able to be derailed from his strength. Krasi has the style that wouldn't derail Lachlan. He would come at Lachlan. And so that would suit a good match, a balanced match. So I disagree with whoever it was that said that. Justin Green.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? What was I saying? Oh, coaches. Yeah. So Lachlan has a new coach. I won't say who it is, but it's very exciting who he is. And also, in addition to Lachlan's new arm wrestling coach, we have Sebastian Oreb. Sebastian Oreb is a world-class, possibly and probably, I think, the most highly respected powerlifting coach in the world currently. He coached Hafthor Bjornsson to his 501 deadlift, amongst other raft of monsters. Now, Sebastian is teaming up with Lachlan and I to blend the two worlds of powerlifting and arm wrestling into a strength system for arm wrestling. So I am the lead guinea pig on it. So Lachlan, who understands arm wrestling and gym a whole lot more than I do, because my style of training up until this point has always just been kind of that just instinct stuff, like table time predominant stuff, where I don't have a program. I don't follow sets and reps and count and scientific processes to actually improve strength. Lachlan has always been that guy. So Lachlan being that guy and understanding what matters in arm wrestling, combining it with Sebastian's experience in the powerlifting world, we're blending those two together, and I think it's going to produce some phenomenal stuff for both Lachlan and I. Like I said, I'm the lead guinea pig in doing this program, but Lachlan, as I said, I'll wait for him to tell you who his new coach is, because I think Lachlan's not going anywhere, and he will only continue to rise for sure.
And I can't wait, because, like you said, you hate to see someone like him just constantly, get fed to the wolves, I guess. Constantly going there and just taking loss after loss, and at some point it can do something to your psyche. You don't, not that he would walk away, but like somebody, you need that one match just to kind of get you going. So for you, yeah, you got beaten down. Coach Ray beating you down, talked all that noise. Okay, fine. All right. All you got is that one opportunity. What happened? In comes Bogdan. Thanks for coming. Got the win. Now I'm back on the horse. Khalid, there you go. Guess what? Now you're sitting in the hot tub and you got to call, hey, we got Zurup. Zurup says yes. There you go. So here you go. Yeah. That's what Lachlan needs. He needs that one match to get him over that hump, and we're just trying to find who it is. You said it could be a Krasny, and that would be an awesome match. Maybe that can happen at probably the next King of Table or the next East vs. West. I don't know. It all depends on Ingen, because he's the one that makes the call on those matches, and Core Sports are the ones that make the call on those kind of matches. So it's basically up to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a good opportunity. I think it'll come around. I think early next year is probably when Lachlan will have his next super matches. I don't think he's going to have anything this year, but we'll still see plenty from him in terms of just continued foot on the accelerator sort of stuff. He's got the intent of being a world champion. He's not giving up. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not, and then like for you to get matches, you're at a point now in your career where you're like, you know what? I can say yes. I can say no. I feel like I'm worth enough for this opponent. Have you built yourself up now? And we'll call it your empire, 90,000 plus. I've built my empire to where, you know what? I can say, I don't want to pull you because I don't think you're at my level yet. You have the right to say that. Yes or no?
Yeah, definitely. I get offered a lot of matches. I get offered a lot of opportunities to come to a tournament and pull a super match and things like that, and a lot of I don't turn them down because of necessarily just thinking that I've gone beyond that, but a lot of them logistically just don't make sense. One of the main things is this is my career, so I have to prioritize the ones that are going to have the best return. I mean, I got to pay the bills, I got to support the family and everything, so it's important that I make wise decisions in that. So I do very much respect that there are a lot of arm wrestlers out there that are, if we just talk about their arm wrestling ability, that there are great matches for me. Like there's endless matches for me. But as I said, there's more criteria than just, is it a good arm wrestle? Does this person have a story that I can combine with my story to make it interesting? Do they have the marketability and is it going to be on a platform that's going to be seen by plenty? So like there's just other factors to it, and that doesn't mean that I do turn down opportunities that I would have accepted. Like if I reflect back on my story, like my very, very first professional arm wrestle was 2014 Arm Wars.
Yeah.
I took the weekend off work. I flew to London, was back from work on Monday. I spent more time in the air than I did in London, and I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid a cent for that, but that was, for me, it was all about chasing experience, chasing opportunity to grow a brand.
Yes.
So at first you pay for all your opportunities, and then you start to break even, and now I'm getting paid for them all. So it's an evolution.
So Preacher Arm Wrestling wants to know, are you coming to the U.S. anytime next year?
Man, they still won't let me in. You tell your president of yours to let unvaccinated in, and I'll be there.
All right.
They won't let me in.
This will not be the political. We got enough bullshit going on down in our country to get political, but no, I mean, I get what you're saying. I really get that.
I am super keen to go to the US. I am overdue to go to the US. I desperately want to go, and look, if I could go to the US, I would want to spend like maybe at least a month there and probably have 2 super matches in that time or something like that. I'd love to pull Dan Mosier again if he's up for it. I'd love to do a collaboration with Michael Todd. I'd love to visit John again and train with him again. There's too many things I want to do, and there's too many good matches in the US available for me. So if I beat Zurab, I think Chance Shaw rematch is on as well. He needs a chance.
Neil Pickup got a hold of you, while you're in Turkey, because you get all these calls when you're in Turkey. If Neil Pickup got a call to you, and we all know now it's been announced that Arm Wars is going to resurface in late March of next year, who would be the guy you'd want to test yourself with? Who do you think a guy would really you want to be on the table with? If Neil said, what do you got?
If it's Arm Wars has a really unique flavor to it. Arm Wars, it tells in-depth stories better than any of the other promotions, and that truly is their strength. And I'm aware of the March Arm Wars opportunity, like for that. And I think of the crowd of people. Again, my weight is something that might cause concern for Neil, because I know he would have originally, like if I was still under 100 kilos, like I was when I pulled Bogdan, then he'd be saying pull Frodo, pull Nicholas Nanastad, pull someone like that. But right now, look, if there was a match, I know you kind of touched on this already. But if there was a match that I think would be well suited to Arm Wars to get it really in depth, it's RVJ. Sorry, it has to be deep. And how deep is RVJ?
It's just,
like that video would be bloody watched, wouldn't it? Like that story.
That match. There's a few matches out there that will break the internet.
Yeah, that's one.
Right. So I see Levon and Jerry might break the internet. I see the rematch, from Brzezinski and Saplenkov might break the internet. I know for a fact RVJ and Ryan Bowen will break the internet. I mean, there's so many matchups that you want to see, but I tell you right now, that will break the internet. I'm telling you, right? That will shatter that thing.
A year ago, whenever it was that all the back and forth was going on between Rob, I made a comment that the match is inevitable. It may not happen this time, but I said the match is inevitable. It has to happen. It will happen. I'm sure of it. At some point in time, it'll be the right time for it. So I could imagine Wars being the right platform for it, because we would get to tell the story, and because we know the story is deep. We know the story is deep.
I mean, it's almost borderline personal.
It also, the fact that he was, I don't know if you recall, Jody, but he was scheduled to pull Zurab and at East vs West, and I don't know why Rob pulled out for whatever reason, but now I have Zurab, so it's like there's fuel on that fire continuously, always.
I want to say it was a family situation he had to focus on, which I get. Family comes first, so I totally get that. But he was scheduled to pull him, and if you go there and beat Zurab, it's almost like, hey Ryan, guess what? Guess what I did that you didn't do, and kind of throwing salt in the wound type deal. So I can totally see that going on, and maybe that'll spark the juices where it's like maybe
I think Rob will be he will be dying on the inside if I beat Zurab. It'll piss him off to no end.
And you'll be sitting up there with this smile, and he's going to be like punching walls and stuff like that. And so it's going to be like, like I said, that match needs to happen. And if and when it does, I think what's a better format though? Because I mean, you said Arm Wars because you could tell a story though. Is that better suited than like King of the Table or East vs West? Do you think?
It's something that I would want to get right. I wouldn't give that opportunity up lightly, and I'm sure Rob would appreciate that as well. We would want to make sure that, look, whatever we do it on, that it's done well. So I would have to really think about it and really make sure that it's given the full opportunity to be as glorious as it can be. So yeah.
Oh, I have no doubt it will. I have no doubt it will. Shifting gears now, and you and I were kind of talking about this before we got on live, and I mean, I'm still bumming out that Jerry had to pull out that match versus Gasparini, and you and I were kind of going, you know what? We'll love to see that match. Still has some luster between Chafee and who's taking Jerry's place, but we all want to see that match, because if Jerry would have won that one, another one that, like I said, that was going to break the internet, Jerry and Levon, but now we won't be able to see it. We're going to have to put it on hold for a while. We don't know how long, but that's where we're at. So now you can tell everybody in the chat your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a real pity, because the Jerry match, Jerry and Nermes was going to be fascinating. Jerry is such a hand grenade to the arm wrestling ranks. He proved that by just coming out of seemingly professional retirement and beating Gennady in some of the most epic fashion we've ever seen. He has that style about him that would have just been, it would have been, I would have been so nervous watching him pull Levan. Like, I would have been like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this man is brave enough to just come forward at Levan like that and see what happens. Like, Levan is so dominant. We know he's the man, but Jerry is that X factor that's just like, you never know, hey? And he's got the balls to just throw that shoulder forward and just come at him. So it's crazy. So give me 2 seconds, Bradley. Sorry, man.
No, it's all right.
And yeah, so Jerry, now that he's out, it is a disappointment. And I feel for Hermes as well, because this match had great marketing hype. Hermes and Jerry was very, very fascinating for the stylistic matchup that it was. Very, very fascinating. Hermes now has Dave Chafee, which is a completely different beast. All of a sudden, you got to think about all the side pressure that Dave's going to be bringing. And look, I think that Hermes is probably going to be able to wear down Dave's wrist over time, but I think it's all of a sudden it's a hard day for Hermes, where in terms of he can't be certain that he hits his lane. Where against Jerry, I think Hermes felt, I'm getting my lane. It's just going to be about speed and punching to the side and really just ripping. Where now it's all of a sudden he's going to be like, shit, I gotta deal with Dave Chafee's wrist and side pressure. How am I going to do this? And yeah, it's a hard match for him.
There's nothing more aggravating than changing gears. And before, I just want to touch base on this before we go any further, because I have an excellent point I want to make. So preach arm wrestling, because last year in December at Washington State, there were some Australians that came that Tim Thomas brought, and Jordan still pinned one of them, and he still hasn't had his trip yet. So we're still trying to figure out.
Jordan has his trip to Australia when he should choose it. That's something that I think Jordan and I would be a good opportunity to pull in between the off season of the East vs West kicking the table stuff. So maybe through December, January or something we can arrange for that. But we had the same issues with getting Jordan out here as for me getting to the US. It's whole unvaccinated thing. So when that becomes the possibility, absolutely Jordan will come down. But as for Aussies going to the US for that, I think Mario Tambakis loved his time there, as did Lachlan Carpenter. I think they're keen. I think Sam Burnett may be keen to go as well. Sam's going to be the next guy out of Australia that really gets runs on the board, that becomes one of the guys that you go, oh, okay, he's going over to Dubai in a week or two's time. I can't wait. I know Artem Taranenko is there as well as Ole Mose, and I think those three guys are destined to clash in that under 85 kilo class. It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be really brutal. But Sam's awesome, so yeah,
that's gonna be a killer event. I'm gonna be, especially come super match time when those get released. Uncle John and myself will be doing play-by-play, so that's just gonna be an awesome event. So I can't wait.
Nice.
Now getting back to what we're saying, it has to be frustrating for Gasparini. Maybe not. Where, okay, it's been announced, I'm pulling Jerry. So you train just for one person, as you should for these matches, but now you train for a certain style. Then all of a sudden someone throws a boomerang and it's like, oh, so I'm not dealing with someone who does this now. Oh, okay. Now I'm dealing with somebody who just brings me in and goes this way. So it's like, now you got to reshuffle. Do you think it's going to play a factor in Hermes?
Massive factor. I mean, for his match against Jerry, he was certain that he was going to win the wrist. He's certain that the back pressure and pronation was not going to be contested, essentially. So he would have been training predominantly just explosive side pressure from a pronated position, and perhaps even a transition to a press. He would have been looking to pop Jerry open and then close it down. And he would have been all in on that. He would have been very developed on that. It's been a good amount of time. We're almost at game day. And so now for that to be the case, like all of a sudden now back pressure and wrist rise and things like that all of a sudden has to be a priority for him, because none of those were priorities, because he was going to win that easily against Jerry. Now it's like, oh man, hang on a second. Now he's worried about, can he even take the dude's wrist? So Yeah, it's a big change, really big change. I feel for Hermes in this one. I think that if Hermes had been, if he knew he was facing Dave, he would have been a very different camp. But nonetheless, Dave's in the same situation. He's given short notice to face Hermes, but look, stylistically, Dave's not someone who worries about that sort of stuff. He's just like, I'm gripping and going. Like, yeah. So Dave, I think, is going to be more relaxed than Hermes for sure.
Well, I mean, then not to mention, and you and I were talking, if Hermes wins, not a real big deal because we all want to see either Hermes versus Levon, or I think the majority wants to see Jerry versus Levon. But let's just say, if Dave Chafee wins this match, where do we go now? Now who's next in line? You know what I mean?
Who pulls Levon? Who pulls Levon if Dave wins this match, and Jerry's healed up and he's good to go for what would have been King of the Table 6? Like, who gets to pull him then? Does Dave wants the rematch with Levon? Does he get it, or does Jerry get it by default because he's the East vs West champ, even though he didn't defend it against Hermes? Like, I agree. We're chasing our tail all of a sudden, and it's a pity. You hit the nail on the head then when you said we all want to see Jerry against Levon. We do. We all want to see that. We all want to see that. I don't know. Maybe Jerry won't have to pull someone again between now, because you got to realistically think Levon only has so many matches a year as well. He doesn't, as the top guy, he's not just pulling every 2 months. He's an every 6 months guy at best.
Yeah.
So if Levon's going to pull in February at King of the Table 6, they have to think long and hard about who they're going to give him. I still want it to be Jerry, but Jerry's got to be healthy, and then he's got to be given permission. Like if Dave Chafee crushes Hermes, it's hard to deny that match to Dave, isn't it?
I would like to see maybe in a couple years, and I say, what's this, 2022? Maybe at this time in 2024, if Levon is still sitting on that throne, I would love to see in a couple years where Kardeka might be, or where God. Yeah. I mean, it's just where is he going to be in a couple years? Because we're all looking for the next big thing.
Yeah, I think Morozov's the next guy, in my opinion. When I look at his age, Morozov's only 24, and to be the level he's at already, and the frame that he has on him is one that could be as big as Levon's. If he keeps down the path he's going, I feel like Morozov's got the hunger and the drive and the potential to do it. So.
Yeah, and we'll have to see, because he gets on there and starts pulling people left and right-handed and winning. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm thinking, all right, this might be the new guy. Then something else happens, and then the beat hangs him up. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, there's that. It always seems like every time East vs West show is all said and done, or maybe even the King of Tables show is all said and done, there's these question marks still. It leaves a question mark, and I don't know why. It's hard
to get it perfectly lined up, and it really is. It's never straightforward, and the styles make matches thing is crazy. But yeah, I think it's also one of the cool things about the sport that we do have that. It fuels the conversation in a lot of respects. The passionate fans about any one given athlete, they defend them relentlessly, but then there's always that Achilles heel that they're like, yeah, but they lost to so and so, and you're like, so it's good fun. It's good fun.
All right, Phil Woody said Jerry should lose the title now if he cannot defend it. Can't just sit on it, which I understand. But the thing with that is I don't know how long he's going to be out for either.
I don't know what the politics of interim belts and all that sort of stuff are. Like, that's up to Engen really as a promoter and organizer as to how he sees that. Is an athlete who holds the world title allowed to have one pass where they can turn up or not turn up due to injury or something and still hold it? I don't know. Or do you give it away? Obviously, for fans, we want to see it defended properly and handed over via defeat. We don't want to see the title handed over by default. That's terribly boring. But we can't have someone sit there and be protected species and just never pull at the same time.
No, I mean, like Levon, like you say, he pulls once every 6 months at best. Well, he's earned that. He's 6-0. Ever since this new version of Levon, he's 6-0 everybody. And this is going all the way back to top 8. He was 6-0 and everybody got in his face, whether it be Tim Breslin or, Ungerbayev or, Vitali. And everybody kept saying, okay, Vitali's the guy. No, he's taking time off. Okay. Dave Chafee, he's strong enough to hang with Levon. He got 6-0. Okay, Devin can use his mind games and angles. He got 6-0. So it's like, okay, Devin's gone down in weight now. Michael Todd his name was mentioned a few times, but now he's gone down in weight now. And he has 2 matches coming up, So it's kind of like, okay, let's talk about that for a second. The new and improved Michael Todd. What do you think about that?
Man, I do really like this prospect. For me, now that Jerry and that are gone, this becomes my most anticipated match. Michael Todd and Prudnik. I think that's a really fascinating match. I think that what I like about it is they're both really happy. They're both in a great mood. I think you bring your best pulling out when you're relaxed and happy. And both of these guys are in that mind state. I think it is going to be phenomenal. I feel like what makes Michael his best is when Michael just refuses to be pinned. When Michael is in that state, and I can see Prudnik struggling with Michael if Michael's in that spot. In the same respect, I rate Prudnik's technical ability and his strength across critical movements of the sport so highly that I think he will be able to equally defend quite comfortably. I think that if Michael is to win the match, it's going to be through Michael's abnormal degree of endurance, that he will have to sit there in an inferior technical position for so long that Prudnik gets taken into a position where he was like, hang on a second, I'm running out of endurance, and he'll be surprised by it. I think that's the only way Michael wins.
Well,
Prudnik will control.
And now that, Devin has taken a step down from the supers, and so has Michael, now it creates these dream matchups. I'm thinking, okay, well, what would Devin do versus a Gasparini? What would Devin do versus Ungerbayev? We're going to see, Michael, throw down next month, East versus West. And then he has Brzezinski in December, by the way.
Christ.
There's always that too. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? That's on December 10th, by the way. Brzezinski and Michael Todd.
Yeah, look, Brzezinski. Brzezinski's he's the GOAT. For a number of reasons, I think Brzezinski will get the job done. I just feel like Brzezinski's ability to control and deny position is so amazing. And then when he controls and denies your position, he hits it with venom as well. His transitions are flawless and savage. And I think it's those savage transitions that I think he'll get through. But at the end of the day, I think it's a friggin' brutal match. Michael has always been close. Like peak Michael has always been right there on nipping on the heels of John. So I think it'll be very close. But I'm backing John. I'm backing John on that one. I think he'll get it done. But there's just so many phenomenal matches. I do like what you said about Devin coming back down as well. Devin against Prudnik for me is one of my dream matches. The Vanilla Gorilla.
How you doing? What's up, buddy? How you doing? Doing all right?
Thunder.
Hello.
Give us a flex.
Oh, no flex? No flex?
I'm just confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I love that matchup. But see, now all of a sudden we're excited about, these matchups. And then where's Tadzilla? Does he get back on the scene? Where does he fit at? You got to, enter him in. What happens to him? He's just kind of kicking back, going, okay, licking his wounds, saying, okay, I'm ready to get back into it. But now who do you face him up against,
Yeah. Todd Hutchins, who does he face now? He got belted by Prudnik, didn't he? I mean, there is the All-American Hutchins v. Brzezinski match that is super cool. I think that would be that's a match. Like, end of the day, the culture of the American arm wrestling scene is in and of itself very successful and quite marketable. Like the world ranks, they're a little cooler, but the American ranks are still very cool. When you're just trying to work out who's who between Chafee, Michael Todd, Brzezinski, Hutchins, and let's throw Devin in there as well. Call it the North American rankings. Those five guys there, and then you add in the Corey Wests who are banging on the door really loudly and all that sort of stuff. That's a really cool thing itself. If someone could ever convince Travis Bagent to come out of retirement, add his name in there, like there's yeah. So I like the culture of the American arm wrestling scene for that overall ranks. I'd love to see a Hutchings v Brzezinski match at some stage. I think that could be a headliner for any card anywhere. And yeah,
here's my prediction. If that, and I think they're probably waiting on the right promoter, the right, Mulan stuff, because they you ain't gonna have those guys pull on not U.S. soil. But I tell you what, a couple things. Number one, if and when that match happens and they get that thing together, you're gonna have people from overseas traveling to the States to see that match. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And it's gonna split North America in half.
Yeah.
It's gonna split it right in half. Can you imagine? I mean, again, there's one of those matches that's going to break the internet. There's another one, Hell, how about this, Ryan? How about we do this? How about we find a way to get you to the States, right? Because watch this. Co-main events, right? Double main event. You and RVJ on one card on the same night, and then Brzezinski and Hutchings. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That would be a special event. Yeah, I would love it.
So Justin Green, who knows both these guys personally because he was training partners with those guys, Hutchings versus Brzezinski would be good, but thinks they would lose this luster. And Justin, just out of curiosity, I would wonder why. It's almost like one of those matches that you're so good that you don't want it to happen. But I'd be kind of curious to understand, why would it lose its luster? Just curious.
Yeah, I think that match you could pull that match together at any point in time, and the world would stop and watch and go, "Oh, here we go, here we go." There's so much. I love the confidence of both men in that. Like Hutchins will say that John's over the hill. He's past his best, and Todd's never taken his foot off the accelerator. He's too strong for John right now. And then you ask John, how do you think you'd go against Todd? And he's like, trust me, if there's anyone out there who knows how to beat Todd Hutchins, it's me. I basically taught the dude to arm wrestle. So like he
there you go.
So John, yeah, super confident against him. So it'll be awesome. And that it's a grinder. It's not. There's no flash pins going on. It's Hutchins slamming down the side, John stopping him over here with pronation intact, and then trying to go sideways, and Hutchins just saying, "Nope, not going to let it happen." And then what happens from there is what we're all signed up for. So, who knows? Yeah.
We'll love to see that kind of match, because then it's like, okay, and everybody's going to be watching that. That will be a match where obviously it's going to happen on a Saturday. Nobody's going to plan a practice. I guarantee you. Practice is canceled. Brzezinski and Hutchins are pulling, and it'll be on pay-per-view. Everybody's going to, go over to somebody's house who's going to get the pay-per-view. There's going to be food and drinks there. It's going to be a big celebration, and half that house will be divided. You're going to have Brzezinski supporters, Hutchins supporters. It is what it is.
Which supporter are you on? Who are you cheering for in that one? Not who you cheering for. Not who you think will win, but who you cheering for.
I can answer that one better December 10th when you said, who am I cheering for, Michael Todd or John Brzezinski? I can answer that one, but I can't answer the Hutchins one. I just don't.
Who you going for in the Monster Factory?
I'm going from Michael Todd.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Going for Michael Todd. I understand, the last time those guys pulled, this is where I'm gonna get hate from. Right. So, I understand. And once, Michael Todd's match is done, then now he can focus squarely on John Brzezinski, and you're going to see every single video of, where are you going, buddy? You're going to see that video replayed over and over again, But the one thing Michael Todd hates
the story. Well. Yeah.
What's that?
I think I know the story. What you're going to tell?
I just think that he hates to lose. We all know that, but there's something about Michael Todd when his back's against the wall and people hate on him so much, he comes out firing. He comes out firing. If God forbid, if he wins this match coming up next month, against Prudnick, oh man, there's your momentum right there. And now he's the
Michael beat Todd Hutchins, you have to say he did that pretty convincingly and did that well. And I know Prudnik beat Hutchins even easier, but Michael's happy and motivated. And like I said, that's a combination that I think will bring out the best in Michael. So it's gonna be a good one.
And that's scary because this ain't the 270-pound Michael either. This is about 250 probably at most. And who knows? He may even get down to 245, or 240 for Brzezinski, and even that's kind of scary, So it all depends on what this new version of Michael, what he brings to the table next month, versus Prudnik. And then that'll probably make a lot of people's minds made up going into that match on December 10th versus Brzezinski.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never gripped up with Michael. I'm just so excited that he's going to be at East West West, and as will I. Michael, you and I, we have to have some after pulling.
Yeah, and like I said, this is awesome. And man, if I can do a poll, I'd do a poll right now. Who you got supporting, Michael Todd or John Brzezinski? But we got plenty of time between now and then to get to that kind of stuff. So it's all good. Yeah. So what do you think about the other matches on the card at East versus West? I mean, I'm anxious to see Justin Bishop. I'm anxious to see, Mr. Ward.
Have you got the list in front of you by any chance?
I do not. And that's one thing I probably forgot to do, but
the list is so damn long that it's hard to remember them all, and I don't want to. I'll inevitably forget one of the most brutal ones. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. The list.
It seems like everyone they add 5 more matches. So it's going to be like 30 of them,
Okay, so I mean, like Matt Mask and Sandra Sadis, mega. Yeah. Paul Lynn's gonna pull. That's gonna be freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The Justin Bishop match, we mentioned that one's huge for a lot of us. What do you got? Adam Wrzynski against Božidar Simonov. That'll be interesting. Cobra Rhodes making a comeback. Brzezinski against Petrenko. Morozov against Rivas. That's big.
I like that one.
Yeah. Wagner Bortolado's in the room against Zaranov. That's brutal.
When is Derek Smith getting back in? I mean, he kind of commented the other day when me and Uncle John were talking, and he's kind of laying low, kind of focused on the U.S. stuff. But he's like reminds me of Adair as far as they need that one match to get him over the hump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're right there, but they just keep on missing the mark a bit, and it's like yeah. I agree. He's right there. I feel like it will arrive for Derek. It has to. He's such an enormous human, and he loves arm wrestling. And those two factors alone, and he's consistent because of that love for arm wrestling. He will. He will arrive. I have no doubt. It's just a matter of time. And when it does, man, I still think he's got one of the most promising futures in the sport for sure.
Well, do you just say, hey, do you just put Lachlan and Derek Smith and say, look, have at it, because one of y'all got to win, right? Somebody has to win. You just do it that way.
It is an interesting matchup, that one for sure. That's pretty brutal. I don't know who wins that one.
Because for a long time here in the States, a lot of people were crying for Derek versus Corey West, and that didn't happen because they had different paths. Then anytime you mention Corey West and Derek Smith, then the first thing that comes out, everybody else next will be Chance Shaw. Where does he fit in all this? His last victory he had in East versus West. He's just kind of hanging back. When do we see him back? When do we see him at Arm Wars? When do we see him at King of the Table? Those questions need to be asked.
Yeah, Chance is right there. I like where Chance is headed. The momentum he's got. It's quite interesting, and I know Chance is. I spent a lot of time talking to Chance about just consulting or just helping guide him with match selection and how to maximize what he's got. So Chance, I think absolutely Chance is headed in the right direction, and I don't think it'll be too long before you see him have that moment that really demands that he gets a King of the Table spot or something like that.
I agree. Now, the question of all questions, and I've asked everybody. I've asked Ryan Espy. I've asked Uncle John. You can shed some light because you've done both. Now, what do you think the difference is, East versus West and King of the Table, as far as why is it different? And I'm going to say why, because Dave Chafee, East versus West, 0-2. Dave Chafee, King of the Table, 2-0. Tell me what's going on. You've done both. So maybe you can shed a little bit more light than most. Tell me what's up.
Well, I mean, I see East versus West as the Premier League in the sport globally for establishing the top 10 ranked guys in any given weight category. I think they've got that market wrapped up. It's respected. It's presented well. It's done in such a manner that allows that to happen. So the funnel that leads to East versus West is basically impress Engen. And there's a number. Engen is a WAF guy. He's a guy who understands what it is to be a legitimately solid arm wrestler, to come up through that Eastern European environment. So you go and start winning Europeans, or you start placing well at WAF or something like that. You'll get the attention of Engen, and then he'll say, "Hey, I'd like to see you against," and he'll match you with an equivalent from the West. Mm-hmm. So I think that East vs West has done a great job at establishing that. What King of the Table has done is marquee matches. It takes the matches largely, it looks at the crop of people that are performing in East vs West and says, which of those East vs West matches demands the most conversation? Which of those people or potential future matches in there has to be a marquee match? And so that's what they do. They put on 5 matches, and they're the matches that are the highly spoken about matches. It doesn't necessarily have to be within a weight category. It can be all sorts of crazy matchups, but they are the matchups that the fans just banging on the door for. And at the end of the day, that it's the highest paid when it comes to the individual athletes, clearly, because they don't, like, Engen's never going to be able to pay as much because he's got 25,000 matches on the card. Yeah. So it's currently the top promotion from the athlete's perspective in terms of where you're going to get paid. Right. That's a predominant difference. Like, why Dave Chafee's gone 0-2 and all that, I think that's just splitting hairs in terms of how do you made a couple of adjustments and all that. He performed well at King of the Table. It was best match I've seen, but I think that they're fascinating, the two. I think that they work well together. They do lead into each other well. And I think like for a Levan match, I think it's appropriate that he gets more spotlight than an East vs West. I think Levan pulling in one of 16 matches isn't justified. I think he needs to be the main event of a much smaller card, like King of the Table. So I like King of the Table for where it sits in that respect, and I love East vs West as well.
Yeah, I mean, because will it be the format or whatever the case may be? It brings something. And now with the 6-round format, and even, Arm Wars does this. But where I'm coming from is that we've seen in the past where, in King of the Table, Gabby and Sarah, right? Gabby got the 4 wins, and she's like, okay, I think I'm done now. Where I thought after that, the tides started to turn. I think Sarah's getting momentum. Gabby cut it off. Okay, I got 4. If I keep going, I don't want to risk injury. Where this one between Vitaly and Dave, you had to get a silver bullet. And that match was probably the best because that told a story. That was an Arm Wars type of match, because without having little interviews, whatever that Arm Wars does with their editing production, that match told a story. It went momentum shifting back and forth like a tennis match. And to this day, I thought that was probably one of the better matches I've seen. And it was blowing my mind. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's the right thing that the person who is winning the match should be able to call the match at 4. I think the person who's getting their asses handed to them, I've got more leniency towards them if they need to call the match because they're sore, they're injured, or they're beat up or whatever. If they're just done, Khaled did that with me. When I got the 4, Khaled said, "No, I'm done," and there's nothing I could do to convince him to pull those last 2 rounds. Right. But as for I don't think a winner, unless it's a clear and obvious injury somehow that they got in the 4th round but they still managed to win it. If there's a clear injury, okay. But if there's not an injury, I don't think the person leading should have the rights to pull it. Because I know for me, if I'm down 4-0, I'm still hungry. I am personally still very hungry to say, you watch. I was close, and I'm gonna prove it in these last 2 rounds.
For me, it's a respect thing. Look, I'm on this stage because if I'm down 4-0, this might be it for me. I may not get a call again, so I'm gonna go out on my sword, guns blazing. If I can squeak out 2, then guess what? That's exactly what I'm a damn sure gonna do it. Leave a lasting taste because mathematically, you down 4-0. We all know who won the match, but guess what? I'm not done yet. When this all said and done, you will know.
I think I can't remember what I said to Justin, but in 2017 when I brought Justin to Australia, when Justin was up 4-0, or I think no, Justin was up 5-0, and he said to me, he said, "Do you want to end it here?" And I said, "Hell no, Justin." I said, "I'm going to win this next round." I said, "You watch." And he's like, like we were having another match, like between him and me, we were like fighting it again over. I bet you can't win this last round. Like there was still passion in it, and I think no, it's die on your sword, go all the way.
Yeah, because you never know. Maybe those last 2 matches, even though they don't quote unquote count, that might be the one that goes, that guy got some fight. What if I can match him up with so and so? And then you never know because you never know who's watching. Neil may be watching, Ingen may be watching, Core Sports may be watching. Next thing you know, you're on the plane back home. You get a phone call. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. Hey, Ryan, I saw your match and I kind of like what I saw. Maybe you might want to come to my event, and there you go.
Big time. Couldn't agree more.
Ooh, here's one. Have you ever pulled pork chop?
No, I haven't pulled pork chop. I've never met him. Last time I was in Canada was bottom 8, which was 2018 or something like that. So he wasn't there. I don't know how long he's been on the scene, but obviously he's a force to be reckoned with. I think that pork chop and Lachlan's another good match as well. I think that they're similar style guys. Physically, they're very similar. They arm wrestle with a similar shape. I think Lachlan's been in the sport a couple of years longer, a little more experienced in that respect. But then pork chop has Devon. So just living close to Devon is an experience in itself, no doubt. And training with him as often as he's been able to. So I think pork chop is someone that we'll continue to hear the name of, and he will eventually kick the door down and arrive. Who knows? But when? We'll wait and see.
Yeah. Hey, I had to put this up here because this has been going on for I don't know how long, and it just hasn't done. It's like it does that,
Yep.
I was wanting because Uncle John will be.
What's your weight, Jody?
Oh, I'm too big for him right now. Right now I'm at 231. So
yep.
And I told this whole thing started like a year and a half ago, maybe last year. And Neil and Uncle John were on, I forgot whose show it was. It might have been Neil's show, and Uncle John was on there. And I'm listening to it. I have my earbuds in. I'm listening. I'm like doing housework, and all of a sudden, it came up, and John read it. Hey, and Neil said, "Hey, John, do you think you can beat, Chocolate Thunder?" And all of a sudden, I stopped for a second. I'm like, I dropped everything, went to go scroll. It's like, well, I'll be damned, And all of a sudden, ever since then, John and I's been, talking back and forth, and it'd be a good match, especially for that stage. He'll be in Washington to say, December 10th, but I know he's recovering from arm wars. He participated back in September, so he's not going to be fully healthy. But good Lord, you're talking about 2 guys, and like you said, marketing, right?
Yeah.
He can market himself. I know damn well I can market myself, and I'm telling you, that match right there is made for arm wars. But it's just at the end of the day, it's Neil's call because it's his show, right? So it's going to be his call. But I said, Neil, you need to make that happen. And I actually did tell him that, but he was like, he doesn't think it's a good match. But maybe somebody convince him. I don't know. Maybe you, Ryan. I don't know. You and Neil like that. Maybe you can make that thing happen because that will be a story to tell leading up to that. So I think him and I can put on a good show. And
You're a pretty strong bastard, though, aren't you? Like I'd be worried for John if I'm honest. I think I think John's up fighting an uphill battle. That's just my gut feel.
Well, the thing is, though, is that so I was talking to one of my teammates, and he seems to think that not so much now because Uncle John kind of explained it. Neil doesn't really set people up just from a weight class standpoint, because even John said on my show Monday or the other day, he even said, "Hey, I pulled somebody who was 280, and I pulled somebody who was over 300, and he went 1-1 with each." So it's not so much a weight thing, right? Now, John used to weigh over 300 pounds once upon a time, right? Super heavyweight. Now he's down to 210 or whatever, but guess what? His hand didn't shrink. So he still has that ginormous, right? He has that ginormous hand. I will welcome that. Left-handed too? Oh, please make that happen come March next year. Please. Neil, if you're watching, please make it happen. Anybody, get a hold of it. Man, make that happen. Because I'm telling you right now, I love John. I love him to death. But if that match ever happens left-handed, I'm going to put the boots to him. And that's all I got to say about that. I'll let you know right now. So cheers to that.
Very good. Hopefully we say it. I love it.
So other than that, though, Ryan, I'm glad you're on the rebound bounce, because no one talks about the match with Coach Ray anymore. No one talks about that. Now it's upward and onward. Okay, I'm focused now. You got Zurab weeks away.
I'm super grateful that I had the opportunity to pull again so soon after. The Arm Wars match was only 4 weeks after the East West match with Ray. Gave me an opportunity to put the weight back on, to get back to my best, and now I'm even more again. I'm at the biggest I've ever been, the heaviest I've ever been, and training all this fundamental strength under Sebastian Oreb. It's exciting. Like it's so exciting to be the gains that I'm getting in just those basic bodybuilding or powerlifting style fundamental lifts that I'm doing are so ridiculous. It's all just neurological. I'm just like going from being an uncoordinated fool to all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. My posture's better. I literally feel like I'm standing taller because my spine is being straightened out. I used to be very, very kyphotic, and now these lifts are straightening me out. So I feel like my body is in its best form ever. Like really, really. So I'm amped to pull at East West West. I think that Zurab deserves every right to be the favorite in everyone's eyes. All well and good. Happy for him to have all the pressure, but I know I'm bringing in a version of me that is without doubt its best. I know arm wrestlers like to say this is their best version of themselves, but I know it. I know this is the best version of me by a mile, by an absolute mile. So I can't wait.
Oh, dude, I'm excited. I'm telling you what, when that day comes and goes and Bowen's the victor, because everybody in the world's telling, Zurab, whispering to him, hey, man, you'll crush him. And you do what you do, coming in healthy, strong, smart, well-rested. That's the recipe for a victory. So when you come in and do that, I hope Khaled's watching, because I'm telling you right now, he might be the next. And that is February, yes?
Late February, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so there you go. But, my man, I want to say thank you very much on a Saturday afternoon in your parts, Friday night over here. I do want to thank you for joining me on the show. And, my friend, we're going to have to do this again.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it and love what you're doing for the sport, man. And keep on going. And hopefully we see you on Arm Wars soon. But, man, thank you heaps for having me on.
My fingers are crossed. All right. Take care, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right. See you guys.
Take care.